Coming to get you, Barbara.
What's up, guys? This is Kenny, and welcome back to Channel Living Dead. Today, I've got a special guest, and we're going to talk about Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. It's a 1986 flick starring Michael Rooker and Tom Towles, and it's a fictionalized account of serial killer team Henry Lee Lucas and Otis Toole. I've watched literally hundreds of horror flicks and other effed up films, and this is one of the few films to ever mess me up and physically make me want to physically murder the people on screen. Everybody, my guest today, my good friend Video Creep. What's up, buddy? How you doing?
Hey, what's up, man? Thanks for having me on. It's
Dude,
always nice to link up with you.
yes, sir. I'm ecstatic, man. It was fun doing your show, so I figured it'd be really cool to turn around and have you on mine.
Fuck yeah, man. Yeah, it was a long time coming.
Yeah,
This has
yeah.
you've been blowing up my social media. You've been all over the place.
Yes, you're a busy beaver too, buddy.
Yeah,
Uh,
these days.
yes, just glad. It was cool that you just hit me up out of nowhere. Like, hey, let's ride. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'll
Yeah,
scramble.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I know you didn't like hitting me up on like Facebook on like random comments like, yo, do my show, do my show. So I found myself with like a fucking bridge of time that I was like, yo, let me just fucking call this guy and do his show. That way we have it out there.
Oh, shut up.
Yeah, that way he'll just shut the fuck up. This
Hell
fucking guy.
yeah. So what were your most like overriding opinion? Of this flick. What does Video Creep think about Henry the serial killer?
Dude, I really fucking liked it. And thank you for even suggesting it because it wasn't on my radar. It wasn't something that I was gonna watch anytime in the near future or anything. And you had told me about it and was like, this is the movie that I want to watch. And whenever you have to do these things with somebody, whenever you have to watch a movie that you haven't already seen, it's kind of like, ugh, now I have
Right.
to like dedicate this time to doing it. So I definitely went in with like that speed, but like the movie fucking picks up. Like right from the beginning with that with the dead woman in the beginning of it, very reminiscent of like the Black Dahlia like murders. You know what I'm talking about?
hmm Yeah, on Hollywood, where I can't remember the chick's name. They found her cut in half, and somewhere in Hollywood, I forget where it was. Yeah, that's funny you mentioned that. That was one of the first things I was going to talk about. How the movie, starts off with first the chick, her body line like in the field,
Nope.
and then it's that exact same scene, or if it's I think it might be a few minutes later with the chick in the bathroom, with
Oh
like the
yeah, with the fucking bottle in her face.
right, like
Uh,
those are like it's almost like got a found footage feel or like a crime scene
uh,
feel to it. Like it was just there's a lot of realism to that flick. I thought like
yeah, it kind of reminded me of Maniac in a way. Like it has that same kind of vibe.
grittiness, I guess you'd say, to it.
Yeah, yeah. But I will say, I think that like bottle scene was a little bit deceiving, just because I would say that's one of the goriest things about this movie. And I feel like when you hear people talk about this movie a lot, they have this like intimidation inside of themselves, like, oh, that movie, that's fucking hardcore. But it's not really that bad at all. I would say that one scene with the woman with the beer bottle in the face is like gory and like scary as it looks.
Yeah, there's like almost no gore for real, but it's more the subject matter to
Yeah.
me. What like the camcorder scene, man? That's what I was.
Oh yeah, with like the family and shit. Yeah.
Yeah, that scene is one of the few scenes ever that made me like my adrenaline and my like blood pressure. Like I was really wanting to kill Michael Rooker and Tom Towles during that scene.
Oh.
It's
Well, it's
just
because they kill a kid. You never
right.
see kids die in horror films. I mean, you do now in this like new age of horror. Kids are not safe anymore. But there was a whole like 30-minute there was like a whole 30-year gap in time where like kids were just off limits.
Yeah, it was. I mean, the kid was screwed up too, but it was more like yeah, I hated that also. But like the husband being bound and watching them, like do what they did to the wife. You know what I
Oh
mean? Like,
sure.
yeah, I guess I put myself in dudes like shoes. You know what I mean? And like, yeah, I don't know. It's just very rarely does a film get me that like, how would you say like I don't know, it gets me that.
Like anxious.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely anxious, but like
Have
we're
you ever seen the movie Funny Games?
funny games.
Uh-huh.
I'm not even familiar with it.
There's a scene in it that's very similar to that. It's these two. It's like a home invasion movie. These like two seemingly sweet, innocent kids go into somebody's house and then they just don't leave. And eventually, it gets to the same place where they're having their way with the wife. They're doing whatever they want to the kid. They're making the husband watch. There's something about being immersed in a movie like that where you have this powerless feeling because you're witnessing it. There's nothing that you can do. The damage is done, and you can only imagine what's going to happen. It's like if they're doing this, what the fuck are they going to do next?
Yeah, dude, you nailed it right there. The powerlessness. That's exactly the feeling that it gives off. Yeah, you nailed it there. Let's see what we got here. What about Otis's weird relationship with, I can't remember, was it his sister or his cousin or whatever? Like that was creepy, dude. Like,
That was interesting. That was interesting. I was surprised by it for sure, for sure. It's but that's how abuse in those kind of relationships go, you know? Like he had the upper hand emotionally. She had been through a lot, like throwing the fact that she was a stripper in his face and shit, throwing the fact that she was beaten by the father in his face and shit, in her face and shit. There's something about the psyche about people like that, which all credit to this movie. It's very in tow with reality in that way. Where if you have kind of this weird abusive relationship with someone, you will do things like that. You will say things like that.
yeah, that was just that whole dynamic was screwed up, man. And her relationship she ended up having with Henry, like, man, that was crazy too. Uh, he was a notorious liar in real life as well. Like when he was already in prison. I believe he was set for execution. I forget, but he kept like cranking the Fed. I don't know if it was the feds or state police or whatever, but he kept making up lies like there was like 50 or 60 bodies. You know what I mean? Basically trying to extend his time like Bundy did. You know what I mean? Like he told a lot of lies. He probably only killed like 5 or 6 people in actuality, but he was making it sound like he was just like the most prolific serial killer ever in
Sure.
order to stay alive, basically.
I think the movie did a fucking awesome job at conveying that for that person. Like, if it is a biopic in that way where he's portraying a human being who's amazing at lying, they did a fucking awesome job at that. Because, like, even there's that one scene where, like, the girl, she calls him out on killing his mother, and at one point he says one thing, and then a couple of minutes later he says something else, and then he's like reminded of his own lie. He's like, oh yeah, that is what happened. It's like,
Yeah,
fuck, well, shit, now I don't know what happened. Like, what's going on here?
dude, that's exactly right. I was gonna say the same thing because one scene he talks about, dang, did he say he stabbed her? Or yeah, I think he said he stabbed her. Then the next scene it was beat her with a baseball bat,
Yeah.
and and it went back and forth. And yeah, she caught him on it. Uh, what was I gonna say?
Yeah, no,
Like,
he was an interesting character for sure. Like, movie or in real life, there was something very interesting about what was going on. And like his rules are another like very interesting thing about this movie. Like him teaching Otis how to kill. That was
right,
fucking really interesting because it's most likely true. Like you don't want to use the same weapon. You don't want to build an MO and have anyone piecing things together. I imagine that the more random that you keep it, the better your chances are at getting away with it.
right. Otis Toole was suspected, or they pretty much think that he killed John Walsh from America's Most Wanted. They say
Really
that he's killed his son, which is what started him into America's Most Wanted and everything.
interesting.
Yeah, yeah, you should look that up sometime. I always thought that was neat. Like, they don't know for certain, but he's like the main suspect, and I believe he's dead now. I don't remember. I used to read up a lot on serial killers, but I haven't read anything in a while, so I had to
Do you
refresh
know when
myself.
this movie takes place?
Well, let's see. It was shot in '86. It came or released in '86. So I would say, geez, dude, that's a really good question. If I had to
Uh,
guess, say early '80s, late '70s.
it has to be some time like that because like there's that one scene at the diner where he like tips the woman a quarter, and the
Right.
woman's like, "Wow, holy, ooh, I'm buying a new house now and shit." Can't
Come on,
fucking tip a quarter anymore. It would be dope if you could, but it doesn't work that way anymore.
pissed off waitress, right?
Uh,
Uh, I just
Yeah,
thought
you leave a quarter when you want to be a dick, you know?
right,
When
like
it's like, oh, you were fucking great. Here's a penny, you cunt. You know, that's the line.
worse than not leaving anything at all.
Wow.
Uh, I'm a big Rooker guy anyway, man. I loved him in Slither and The Walking
Oh,
Dead.
dude,
Even like,
it took me half of the film to even realize that was him.
oh wow.
Yeah, I was looking at him. I'm like, yo, this dude he looks like fucking Merle. And it fucking was Merle. I was so shocked.
What's your what would you say your favorite Rooker role is?
I like him in Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, I called him Merle, so I would say I think that's his most prolific for me specifically. He was so like just gritty and untrustworthy in The Walking Dead. I'd never seen him that good.
Right. Then he had a really cool redemption arc, though. Remember, he ended up
He
coming back
did.
around.
He did. He did.
Cool. I always loved Merle, even when he was a piece of shit. You know what I mean? Like he
Oh,
was the
sick.
character.
I love the dynamic between him and Daryl too. I really fell off of The Walking Dead though. Like after like season 6 or so, I stopped giving a shit.
7 and 8, seasons 7 and 8. Even though Negan was really cool, 7 and 8 pretty much sucked. But the 9 and 10 have been awesome, especially
Have
9.
they?
So yeah, I would highly recommend checking back out 9 and 10. But yeah, 7 and 8 drag, dude. And
Yeah, it was enough to make me fucking completely check out. I've actually theorized like what's better, checking out of a show or staying with a show until it sucks. Kind of like what happened with like Game of Thrones. Like Game of Thrones was fucking awesome all the way through. And then in that last season they kind of like shit right on our face. Which even that I don't even want to promote that at all just because I don't actually feel that way. But the last episode specifically, fuck that shit.
believe it or not, like as much as I love, Andrew Lincoln and Rick, the show's better without him, man. I don't know why,
Really?
but yeah, but his last episode, you definitely got to see it, man. 'Cause there's flashbacks. It brings back some old characters. You know what I mean?
Nice.
Uh,
Yeah,
it's
maybe I
real,
should. At least to finish off the Andrew Lincoln storyline and shit, you know? Does Carl end up staying?
Carl dies, man.
Oh, Carl does die, doesn't he? How does Carl die again?
He gets bit saving that Muslim doctor dude.
That is what happens. Yeah. That's right. That's right.
Yeah,
Ah,
that was
crazy.
during one of the crappy seasons. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, see, that's right around the time that I stopped watching. I was like, well, fucking Carl Papa's dead. I love Carl. I don't want Carl to die.
Have you seen Slither?
Yeah, I mean it's been a while, but I remember it with like the weird like snaky things that go inside your body and shit.
Yeah, and Michael Rooker is like the main bad guy in it. Like, I
Oh,
thought he looked older in it than he did Walking Dead for some reason. Like I thought that
interesting.
was
It's
that's
because guys, man, we get better looking with time. Sorry, girls.
yeah, I'd like to go back and I need to rewatch it. I haven't seen it since like '03 or '04. So
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while.
what about
I
Tom?
remember watching Slither and thinking like this is like a better Dreamcatcher.
Oh yeah, I can see. I
Yeah,
like James Gunn
they have
anyway.
like kind of the same thing going on.
James Gunn, wrote and directed it. He also wrote the Dawn remake, which I like that movie, but I would like it a lot better if it had a different title.
Sure, sure.
Tom Towles, what would you say your favorite role of his is?
Of who?
Tom Towles, Otis.
Man, I don't think I'd ever seen him in anything else. Well, no, that's not true. That's not true. Was he in Blood In, Blood Out?
I'm not certain. He was in Devil's Rejects, though. He was the cop with the mustache.
Yeah,
He
he
looked
was. Yeah,
like
he was.
he was
Wow, I didn't put that together at all. Holy
he was
shit.
Mr. Cooper, Harry Cooper in the Savini Not a Living Dead remake.
Wow. He's so
Yeah, so
young in Henry. Like I didn't even put together that was the same actor. That's one of those actors for me that like I only see him old. I never think about him as a young actor, but like that totally tracks.
dude, think about it. Even he looked old even in the Night of the Living Dead remake, and that was in '91. He was bald in it too.
I feel the same way about Sid Haig too. Like every time that I see him, I think about him old. I never think about him young, even though he had an entire career. One would argue even more popular career when he
Right?
was younger.
Yeah, he
But
was in
like
every TV show ever back in the day.
I'm a product of my age, I know these people from how I got them.
Definitely. You know, Tom Towles died. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his last name. I've always said Towles, but I think it's actually pronounced differently. He died just like, I want to say 2 or 3 years ago, man. Like,
Oh, wow.
yeah, that messed me up because I was a big fan of his too. And he was more of just a character actor, but he had some, really good horror flick roles over the years. Uh, let's see what else I got here. All right, covered John Walsh. I don't know. Let me hear Video Creep. Let me hear some just what you got to say about it.
About Portrait?
Hell, yeah, Portrait particularly, but anything else you just like to go into?
Man, let me see what I got in my notes here. The relationship between Henry and Otis, I thought was weird. I didn't I didn't get it at all. Not in like a real life setting kind of thing. Just because I feel like Henry, if he's so good at what he's doing, and like, that's if you're a serial killer and you're getting away with it so well that you've been able to make an entire list on how to get away with it. I feel like one of the big things that you wouldn't want to do is then tell one person or trust some person with that, you know?
Right, yeah, I would definitely, if I were that type of dude, I wouldn't be telling nobody.
Yeah, like I would keep that shit under super lock and key. No one would fucking know. You would have to find one of my pubic hairs somewhere to be like, oh wait, no, this was Michael. Michael did this, and then it'd be like, oh yeah, fuck, yeah, I did that. You know.
Go ahead. What else we got? What else you got on your nose? Fancy notebook of yours.
I was also gonna mention that I thought it was a bit of a bummer that he killed his girlfriend at the end of the movie.
Yeah, really.
I thought that they were in a good place. But I guess she just never, some people never come back from some bullshit. And I guess her like stabbing this dude in the fucking eye and then her having to watch him cut this dude up. That's pretty traumatic. I guess I would break up with a girl if I had to watch her do that.
Dude, I forgot all about that. That wasn't even on my list, but it was definitely something I meant to cover. Was them killing Otis. And
Yeah.
that definitely didn't happen in real life. I believe he died in a penitentiary. I'm not sure. I'll have to check into that to be honest. But I'm pretty.
I felt nothing, man. Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I want to hear what you got to say here.
Well, I was gonna say, man, I fucking felt nothing. I felt nothing. When they killed Otis, I was like, good for that motherfucker. It's time for him to die.
Right. He was way more unlikable than Henry. At least Henry had a few like redeeming traits about him, but Otis was like, man, I hated everything about him. Like, you're a creep. You're trying to bang your
Your
sister.
fucking sister, cousin, yeah.
Clearly enjoyed the whole rape thing entirely. You know what I mean? Like, first off, how can anybody do that? Period. But then like just the glee he took in it. You know what I mean? And then like the torture like stuff. I mean, like he was just a complete like piece of shit. And then like just
Yeah,
being
I just
cousin.
wasn't into him. Yeah, I wasn't into that at all, man.
Yeah, I was glad to see him go. I'm
Which is
pretty.
weird because like the way that this movie is filmed, like generally you don't like the villain, you don't like the bad guy. This movie it focuses on two bad guys. So really the person that we should be in tow with is the girl. And I think her name is what, Betty?
Man, I believe.
Betsy? Betsy, something like that?
Hey, dude, I can't even remember. I believe you might be right though. I'll have to
Oh.
check.
Well, we're gonna call her Betty. Like
Yeah.
we should care about Betty. Like Betty should be the one person that we care about. But for some reason, you watch this film and like the person that you care about, the person that like the viewer is forced to fucking like align themselves with, is Henry somehow. And it's because he does have these really charming, sweet moments. Like when fucking Otis is talking shit about Betty, he steps up. He's like, you don't fucking do that shit. He fucking pins him up and shit. It's like, hey, that's my guy.
Right. He didn't he stop her? He stopped him from raping her too, I believe, didn't he?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, for something else too. Like, yeah, like Otis is by far the most unlikable. I'm pretty certain in real life they were banging each other too. Like, I'm almost
really.
positive. Yeah, because they were both like, I guess just anything goes type shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm
that
pretty
makes
sure.
I can see it.
Pretty sure Otis Toole. Yeah, you got to need to Google a picture of him, dude. He's like the ugliest dude in the history of ever. Uh, but he dressed like a chick and stuff. I'm pretty sure. So like, but Henry's like hideous too. He's like a big fat like he look. Neither one of them looks anything like their portrayals.
Interesting. Well, Hollywood wants to pretty everybody up, right? So
Right. I mean, I guess if you can call Tom Towles pretty, but he's definitely prettier than Otis Toole.
So I didn't actually watch the sequel, but I knew that in the sequel that they confirmed that it was Betty in the suitcase at the end of it. Because I know that there was like a weird like dialogue going on about like, did he actually kill her? Was that extra parts of Otis's body that he just left or whatever? And I know that in part two they actually talk about it. He talks about leaving his dead girlfriend on the side of the road.
Dude, holy crap. Look, I've been a fan of that movie for 20 years. I didn't even know there was a sequel.
Yeah, there's a sequel. It's out on Amazon right now.
No kidding. Is it Rooker?
No, unfortunately, someone else comes in to like take into place. Because like this movie is magnetic. Like once you're watching it and you're actually immersed in it, when it ends, you're not ready for it to end. You want more. That's how I found out that there even was a sequel. Because Amazon suggested it right away, and I put it on right away. The Achilles heel of the whole thing, though, is that it's not Roker. So you spend all this time, like, identifying with this one character and seeing how he gets away with things in part one. You want it to continue in part two, and when it doesn't, it's like, yeah. Because he portrays him totally different.
Damn. I mean, I may check it out then, but you just, like, kind of not having Rooker just kills a whole lot of interest. Like, I don't even see where they'd go with it with Otis dead anyway, you know? Like,
I don't know. Roker had such a there's a sweetness behind his gruffness, And I don't know. I think that it's sad that he wasn't able to come back for a season. I probably would have watched it if it was him.
oh, yeah, I'd definitely watch it if he was, like, still in it for sure. Damn, what was I going to say? I don't remember how many people they actually killed together, but, they were already killing. Like, he didn't actually, pretty certain he didn't actually, like, train Otis like that. I'm pretty certain they were killing independent of one another, and they somehow linked up. And
Sure.
a lot of their stuff isn't even known. Like I said, Otis is suspected of the Walsh kid, and Lucas, like, they don't even know for how many he killed because he tried to, stretch the truth on how many. But I think they estimate like 10, 5, 6. It's not nearly like what he tried to claim, 50, 60, 70. Like, he tried to make it sound like he wanted to be like, he was a braggart and just a liar. And, what I mean? Like, he was nowhere. I don't even think he had like any redeeming traits like he did in the movie,
No. Yeah, no, I can see myself going forward looking into Henry now that I've seen this movie. And again, thank you so much for even recommending it to me.
Dude, yeah, I mean, I figured you would like that. I hoped you would anyway.
Yeah, no, I did. I liked it quite a bit. If I was rating it on my show, I'd probably call it sweet.
Okay, cool, yeah. I wouldn't even really call it a horror flick, really. Would you? Like,
no, it falls in that place. Like I put it, there's certain movies that like we let hang out with horror movies that aren't really horror movies. Like They Live, They Live is not a horror movie at all, but he's like cool with the gang. Like we let him chill, we let him drink. He comes over to the barbecue and shit. Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer is that same type of thing where it's like it's not a horror movie, but why don't you come over here and hang out with us? Sit at our table.
Dude, that was very well said. Yeah, that's true. What would you call it? Maybe it's not really a thriller. It's kind of it's got elements of horror.
It's got that thriller thing. I mean, I would call it a thriller. It's a psychological thriller for sure.
I'm leaning more towards like crime drama mixed with horror, but yeah, I guess like
yeah, no, it's got that too. Yeah, it's a hard movie to pin down. It's a hard movie to pin down because again, it's going in your mind. It is showing a criminal case. It's interesting. The beginning of the movie with like fucking Betty's storyline, it kind of reminds me of Psycho 3. Did you ever see that?
No, I've not seen 3.
Oh man, you should. All the rest of the Psycho, I always say the Psycho #1 is my least favorite movie, but Psycho 2, 3, and 4 are fucking amazing.
Dude, I gotta check out 3. One thing about this movie though, like even if you hate it, like you're still drawn into it. You know what I mean? It's just so like, I don't really want to say captivating, but it's so like, I guess gritty and just like the vibe it gives off. You know what I mean? Like even people are gonna be drawn to it and they're gonna want to see what happens, and it's just like, something about it, man. I don't know. It's a really interesting flick.
What I think it is if I could just pinpoint that feeling that you're describing, I think it's secrecy. I think that's the whole thing. Everybody says that they hate drama. Everyone says that they don't want to know certain things. But the truth is that's bullshit. And everybody loves a secret. Everybody loves to hear something that you're not supposed to hear. Everyone loves that. This movie has that quality throughout the entire thing. We're keeping Henry's secret as the film is going along. So we're captivated because what he's doing affects this secret that we're keeping for him. So it's pulling you in the whole fucking time.
Dude, yeah, that's what really well said. There's an intimacy kind of,
Yeah,
like American Psycho or something like that. I can kind of see parallels between it and American Psycho. Now I say that,
sure.
like there's, I guess the same thing, like the intimacy, the being inside, like it almost makes you like a co-conspirator. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like,
oh, absolutely. We know what they don't know, and we get to watch. And that's one of the most intriguing things that you can do as a filmmaker.
I don't even know who directed it, man. I didn't like.
I also don't know who made this, but it looks like it wasn't a very expensive film, so I can't imagine it was like one of the big dogs like New Line or somebody. It looks like it had to have been maybe like what, like a $40,000 film, like at most.
Yeah, that'd be my guess because there's like, I mean, all the interior shots are just like an apartment or something, like all the exteriors is just like him riding around in a shitty car.
Uh,
uh, oh yeah, what about him like stalking the people and stuff too? I thought that was well done and creepy. Like,
yeah, yeah. I mean, I always like that shit. That's the kind of stuff that makes me think that this movie is so like Maniac, because you get so much of that in Maniac, the hunt, if you will.
mm-hmm. Yeah, and the people are, whether they admit it or not. I used to have a whole bunch of books about serial killers, and people would always look at me crazy. But man, everybody's fascinated by the psychology of serial killers, whether they admit it or not.
Oh, sure, sure.
I look like a freak having 20 biographies. You know what I mean, of Gacy and Gein and Fish and all that stuff. But like, I mean, look at nowadays, people like Netflix and Making a Murderer and all that stuff like that. People love that type of stuff. And
Oh, sure. I'm one of those dudes that's up at 4 o'clock in the morning, like looking up YouTube videos. Just I'm looking at the top 10 fucking people that are in your house. The top 10 people who will kill your children. Like I eat that shit up.
I used to watch a lot of like Forensic Files and stuff on what
Yeah.
is True TV. It used to be Court TV or whatever. I used to love that stuff too.
Yeah, it's
Like
funny, that stuff. You watch it and like all of a sudden you're like, huh, I wonder if I'm like fucked up. Like is something wrong with me for indulging in so much of this?
right.
I go through that with just horror in general as well. Like there's always that time that I sit and I'm just like, why do I love this? Like what is wrong with me as a human being that leads me to love this macabre fucked up thing?
Yeah, not so much horror. Maybe like me personally, like maybe like the serial killer stuff and like the like forensic file. Like horror, I believe it's like kind of like coming to terms with your own mortality type of thing.
Sure.
And there's some psychological stuff there too. it's hard to put completely into, but it definitely has something to do with coming to terms with like facing your fear of death, I guess, kind of thing. Like especially through all these like most horror, like most of the kills are so over the top, and particularly like your slashers, your Jasons and Freddys and all that stuff is so over the top that you're forced as a viewer to confront death, but it makes it, I don't want to say fun, but it's kind of,
I mean, you can say fun.
I guess it does kind of make it fun. Yeah.
Huh. How often do you get to just see people scream at the top of their lungs? How often do you get to get that peek behind the curtain of someone getting murdered? It is an immersive experience that, not everything is for everybody. Some people can dig it, some people won't. But I think for me personally, it's the artistic nature of a horror film. I always think that like horror films are some of the most creative things that you can make as a filmmaker, just because the walls are open. Like it's this weird sense of reality and ficticism that collide.
Dude, like, I mean, look at like the original 78 Halloween, man. Like the atmosphere, the music, the just the way they shot it. Like I'm a big fan of like camera angles and shooting techniques and stuff like that. Like the
Uh,
scene where he appears, yeah, it was part one where he appeared behind the hedges and then like slid back behind it as Jamie Lee Curtis and her group of friends were coming up.
so
Just
good, so good,
like
so good.
that's a, just like I said, the atmosphere, horror. Like not, I've never seen any other genre that really just captures a feel and atmosphere and just I don't know, man. There's something about it that That's almost exclusively what I watch these days. I guess because it's kind of our jobs now. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, it's hard to watch anything else. You know, when I'm not watching horror, I'm watching the most like sweet things in the world. Like I'm yeah, like I'm watching like fucking horror and I'm like doing Nightmare on Elm Street and like all this shit. But then like when I'm not doing that, I'm watching like Grace and Frankie. You know, like I'm watching really like sweet, nice stuff.
Dude, how do you make time? Because like when I'm not watching horror, I'm having to watch my friends' videos and like you know what I mean, like then social media promotions, you know, which I guess I do a little bit more of that than you because you got a lot more going on in your real life. But yeah,
So here's the thing, and everyone asks me about this. People who are really close to me know this about me. So I only sleep 3 hours a day, which
oh my,
is absolutely insane, but it's true. I sleep 3 hours a day. I've had insomnia since I was like 20 years old. So like now it's kind of just old hat. So I have all this like extra time at night where I can like record or I can go out and do a show or I can fucking make a stupid parody song or fucking watch my friends' videos or social media like yeah, it sucks and like I'm tired all the time, but like I like that I have all that extra time. It makes it look like I'm just constantly putting things out all the time.
yeah, it's I don't want to say it's a chore now, but it's man, it's sometimes it's hell trying to watch. Like I've got a backlog, dude, of like probably
Oh, same.
50 movies. I mean, I gotta watch because you know every time I get a new interview, I gotta watch. If I haven't seen the film, I gotta watch it. Then I gotta research it. Then I get like people hitting me up, like asking me to review their stuff or just
Oh,
watch it
same,
here.
same.
You know?
Yeah, I just got a guy on Instagram that was like, "Hey, can I send you a movie? It'd really nice if you can like promote this thing for us." Blah blah blah. You know, you do what you can, and I think it's easier with like us as like people who have channels and YouTube, and like we don't expect each other to watch every video. When we do, it's awesome, and you appreciate it and shit. But we all kind of get it when we don't show up for each other's stuff because it's you know it's a lot of work. Editing itself takes up so much time. Like it's a problem, but it's a good problem.
Oh yeah, I mean I love it. Like I wouldn't trade any of this for anything in the world. You know what I mean? Like we're doing what we love. You know what I mean? Yeah, we're not getting paid or anything, but still we're like our hobby, our love has become like the driving force, like the main thing in our lives basically right now. You know,
Yeah,
and
it's been great. It's been
not
great.
cool connections we make. You know, like the
Yeah,
like
I would say that's the best part for me is I love making new friends. I love being able to make those connections and meet new people and shit. And like talented people too. Everybody's cool most of the time, but it's really cool when you can vibe with someone who's doing something that you really enjoy as well.
definitely, man. It's I know this isn't really an interview, but let's talk about your stand up for a minute, man. Like, how did you get started?
Sure.
How did you get started doing that?
So I've always been funny, like as like a kid and shit. And when I was like 18 years old, I was at a random bar with my sister, and my sister like dared me to go do stand up because we were like it just so happened to be like an open mic thing. So I said no because I was being a pussy. And then I don't know, it just like stuck with me. So I found another open mic and I invited my sister to it. And then I did it that day and I did really, really well, which is like almost unheard of. No one does fucking great on their first time doing stand up. And I very quickly learned that that is not something that continues for you because I went back in with the energy of 1,000 comedians and I just bombed so fucking hard. But then, like, I don't know, I just like kept going. I kept writing new jokes, and you know, now it's just something that I love to do.
If you had to choose, man, what would you stick with, the YouTube or comedy? If you absolutely had to choose one of the two.
Neither. I would do neither. If I could do just one thing for the rest of my life, I would continue to put out books, like the book that I put out last year. Like that was, if I could just write this like comic strip that I do for the rest of my life, that would be a perfectly content life that I could have.
You've told me about your book, but what's it about?
So it's an adult themed comic strip book. Have you ever seen like The Far Side or anything?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so I do a comic series that's just like Far Side, but it's far more adult. And yeah, I've been doing it since high school. So eventually last year, I'd been wanting to make it into a book for a really long time. And last year I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just going to do it. So I did. And I've sold over 1,500 copies of my book. I've sold it in Canada. I've sold it in Sweden, Someone else just bought my book for the first time that was somewhere interesting. Where was it? I don't know, but it wasn't America, and that made me feel good.
Dude, that's one thing I like about you, man. We've been friends for what, like 4 months now?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
pretty much almost since we both started our YouTubes like almost the exact same time, and then
Yeah.
like we been doing it a month or so when we met, and like I thought it was really cool that we'd been buddies for a minute before I even knew that you did stand up or were an
Yeah.
author. I just thought it was cool that you were modest like that. You know what I mean? You didn't like brag about it, or you know what I mean? Like I thought that was really cool.
I mean, it's weird. The things that I do outside of YouTube, they're like weird things to brag about, so I don't. Like if I'm like, oh yeah, I'm a comedian, people be like, well, tell me a joke. It's
Oh,
like, well, it doesn't work that way. If I'm like, oh yeah, and then like say if I'm like on a date with a girl or something, and she's like, what do you like to do? And I'm like, baby, I like to make parody songs. It's just it's not sexy. It's not a hot thing to do. So a lot of those things they come out over time with me and shit.
that's cool. How'd you come up with the name for your channel? I really like your channel name.
Dude, I went through so many names. I went through so many names before I settled on Video Creep, which is funny because Video Creep was maybe like the third name that I came up with, but I had like a list of like 40 different names. And like everything from like Netflix and Kill to like Your Blood Buddy to like everything. And I remember I made like a mock up of it was like actually the very first logo. If you go to like my earlier videos, there's like a little pink thing that says Video Creep that I stuck in the corner and I don't know, there was just something about that name. I really liked Video Creep, so I just stuck with it.
Yeah, dude, it's catchy. I really enjoy the name. It's very cool, and it's memorable too. It sticks with you.
Yeah, I'm noticing that. I'm noticing that. People like the name Video Creep and like so I like it more and shit. And like we were talking about earlier, like it's nice to be able to call the people who watch my channel video creeps as well. And it's like we're all like I'm the video creep, but we're all video creeps. You
Hey,
know?
right? I'm actually trying to implement something similar, but I haven't figured out anything cool to come up with yet.
You'll get
Tell me.
there. It was an afterthought. I didn't think that I would be. You know who actually fucking threw that on my radar was fucking Frank. When he made that trailer for Video Creep, and it's just me saying, welcome back, welcome back, welcome back, Video Creeps. That's when I noticed that like I fucking refer to everybody as video. I'd never even thought of it.
Oh, that's cool, dude. Tell us about Brad and aimless discussion. What?
Brad's my buddy. Brad's like my bestie out here. Um, yeah, we have a podcast together that we do called Aimless Discussion. There's a new episode coming out this weekend, which it's been a while. It's been like 2 or 3 weeks since we were able to put out another one. You
Hey,
know, with my busy schedule already, and then his like he lives like 2 hours away from me. So
oh,
us like linking up together, it takes a lot of effort to make that show happen. But when we do, it's nothing but laughs. We talk about everything from horror to what would happen if Optimus Prime fucking had a wart on his dick that looked just like Garfield, and when he popped it, the president came in and like nuked Asia. Like we talk about fucking really weird, fucked up stuff like that for like an hour at a time. So
yeah, I've never spoke to him, man. But like the one episode I watched that you got, I might have watched two. I don't remember the one episode I watched, man. Like he's a funny dude. He seems
yeah,
like
yeah,
a cool guy.
yeah. He's a big fan of you as a human being.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
That's. I need to hit him up, man. You said something that one day when I found out he was on Twitter and I was kind of hyping him a little bit. Yeah, I definitely need to holler at him.
Yeah, yeah. He just made the aimless Twitter, so that's been nice. And that's like now we're starting to like ingratiate that. It'd be nice to bring him into like
Yeah,
Mutant Fam at some point.
dude, yeah, let's totally bring him in, man. I like him.
Yeah, he's great. He's great.
Anybody you'd like to shout out?
Oh man, I mean it's a broken record at this point, but like Survivors Guild, Geek Days and Mutant Fam, 3B Video, the Horror Cave is a new friend who I like a lot. He's been putting out some great content. Brad from Aimless Discussion, of course. Desmond Flicks is still a good friend. He just asked me to do his show today. Fucking just all of our little circle. It's nice that we have this weird umbrella that we're all kind of associated with each other through. So just everybody, I'm glad that everybody's doing so well.
Dude, yeah, it's there's like the unity, like it's the sum of the parts, you know what I mean, are much bigger than the individuals. It's become like just everybody, like your success helps me, my success helps
Yeah, Yeah. And it's nice when we're able to do this with each other. It's just building a community, you know?
Yeah, and then supporting one another and hyping one another. I mean, it's just it's really cool. Plus, it's fun, you know, collaborations like this, and just
Yeah.
and you know the stuff we got behind the scenes, like that's always a blast.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. The chats and stuff that people don't know what we're saying.
They would be traumatized if they were to
Uh,
see.
I mean, they'll all think that you want to bang me, which is nice. I mean, I'll take that kind of
Oh,
publicity.
uh,
I love it. But dude, thanks so much for having me on your show, man.
yeah. Anything you'd like to say to everybody? I know
No,
this is
no, I said it all. I said it all. Come on over to Video Creep when you're done here. Check out my videos there. I'm fighting a copyright war right now, but I've disputed it. So let's see if it'll actually put it up in a couple days. But yeah,
yeah. And like I said, Ghost Fake went through that. I went through it with a live stream of a video game. It takes 2 or 3 days usually, and they'll let go of it.
yeah, yeah. I'm hoping so.
All right. So, any final thoughts on Henry, real quick, for you?
Dude, watch it. Watch the fucking movie. It's a really fucking immersive film.
Dude, I appreciate you so much coming on, man. It's always fun. Like, you know, I enjoy talking to you, whether it's on the phone, whether it's on Twitter or whatever. But I think I particularly like doing the shows together. Like,
Yeah, yeah, these are great. These are great. Yeah, I know I don't reach out as much as I should. I'm sorry,
yeah,
Mom.
it's all good, my man. Just you know, always just hit me back up on Twitter sometime. It's all good.
Yeah, man.
We've been on the phone a lot more lately than we used to. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah, little calls. Those are always the quickest way to get in contact with me because I could just pick it up real quick and then fucking, get on to the next thing.
okay. Well, all right. I guess we'll wrap it up, dude. Like I said, I really appreciate you coming on.
Fuck yeah.
Check out Video Creep. Where can they find you on social media? Tell them your social media real quick.
If you go straight to video, if you go on YouTube and you type in Video Creep, my thing will pop right up. If it doesn't, try Video Creep Reviews. I'm also on Instagram. I'm on Twitter under Video Creep. And through my YouTube, you can find my personal information as well. So, go on a scavenger hunt and, I don't know, like my Facebook.
Yes. All right, cool. All right, well, we appreciate you, buddy. It's been Video Creep, Kenny with Channel Living Dead. We'll see you guys next time.
Peace.